The third door that opens when we're aligned with anicca is compassion. Because when we're less offended, when it's less about us, when we understand interconnectedness, right, we can recognize and sense other people's suffering. It's like one door, the door to not self, opens to another, compassion, right? So a confluence of rivers, doors within doors, really. So impermanence deepens compassion and empathy to others because we know at a cellular level the universal nature of suffering. We respond more compassionately to the struggles of others. And we're hardwired naturally as a primate pack species to be compassionate when we're not offended. We can also be more compassionate to ourselves. And, often when we're suffering and we contract around it, we feel possessed by it, and it seems so fixed, so permanent. And that suffering becomes the enemy, right? Our usual method of dealing with enemies is by vanquishing them. We fight them or banish them. So much of the time we're trying to banish our own suffering. So when we recognize that our own suffering is temporary, not fixed, not self, right? Just passing unpleasant phenomena, unpleasant thoughts, unpleasant emotions, unpleasant physical sensations. But passing, it's so much easier to hold that suffering because it's not the enemy. Right? So we're more accepting of all suffering because we're no longer pushing it away or making a problem of it. We no longer resist it or cling to feeling better. We recognize that suffering is part of the river of change, right? So that is how impermanence reveals dukkha, or how impermanence reveals suffering. When we're not pushing it away or avoiding it, we can hold pain, our own or others, in a compassionate heart. The compassionate heart that is our birthright as a primate pack species. The Vietnamese Dharma teacher and monk Thich Nhat Hanh tells a story of a time during the 1970s when there were a lot of people trying to flee in boats with all their possessions and were attacked by sea pirates. One time he heard a story of a girl who threw herself off the boat to drown herself after being raped by a sea pirate. And Thich Nhat Hanh tells how he at first felt enormous rage and anger at the sea pirates. And so he meditated for a time, eventually having insights that led to this beautiful, beautiful poem entitled, "Please Call Me by My True Name." He understood the impermanent nature of suffering and the inevitable recurring of suffering. He saw that causes and conditions led to the violence of the sea pirates, the conditions of their childhood and culture. He understood the not-self quality of them and him. He saw the interconnectedness that is seen when one lives in harmony with impermanence, anatta and suffering as natural laws.